All right, everybody, welcome to the 8th episode of the Vertical Play Podcast. I am bringing to you myself and English, my co-host Dantani Lamb and Kill 'Em Softly.
I'm
Today,
back.
I thought we were going French this episode, like all French, but okay, English. I'll stick with it.
I
Actually,
actually had to get out of doing other languages in high school because I was so bad at them. They were just like, find a different elective, do something
tu parles
else.
français?
Right.
Je
Yeah,
parle
exactly.
français un peu.
What?
Je m'appelle
Buttery-
D'Antoni.
Buttery
No.
croissant.
No. No habla español.
El leche. I
Maybe
don't know.
je ne parle français. Je ne parle français. But yeah. Okay.
All right. So
Either way.
anyway, today we are going to dedicate a whole episode, and this will be a bit of a shorter episode. We're going to be dedicating the whole thing to the invitational group brackets and kind of talking about our hot takes and predictions. Just as a point of reference, we will not have a episode next week, just so we have time to watch the event, and we also will have a watch party, which I'll talk about more at the end of the show today. So, everybody, right now, what we are looking at in this beautiful graphic that we put together before, it's not really a graphic, it's just a text. Kind of looking at the games we've had so far, and looking at who's already eliminated, who's already confirmed in the into the at least the quarterfinals. We'll go over those real quick, and then we'll just kind of talk about the matches we've seen, if anything stands out to you guys, and we'll just talk about predictions after that. So right now, what we're looking at is yesterday, Na'Vi versus SSG with an SSG win, Rogue versus TSM with a TSM win, Wildcard versus BDS with a BDS win, Rec versus G2 with a G2 win, DZ versus FaZe with a DZ win, Empire versus Fnatic, Empire wins, Giants versus MIBR, MIBR won, NIP versus Liquid, NIP wins. So today, that was day one. Today, SSG versus TSM with an SSG win, Na'Vi versus Rogue with a Rogue win, or I'm sorry, with a Na'Vi win. That means Rogue is eliminated. Rec versus Wildcard with a Rec win, G2 versus BDS with a G2 win. That means G2 was the first team to be confirmed for the the quarterfinals. Empire versus DZ with a DZ win. That means DZ is also in the quarterfinals, and SSG as well, I believe. Is that right?
Yep. That is correct.
Okay, SSG. Okay, and then Fnatic versus FaZe with a Fnatic win. So right now, who's eliminated is Rogue and Wildcard, and who is qualified is SSG, G2, and DZ. What did you guys think of the matches so far? Anything stand out to you guys?
FaZe isn't eliminated.
No.
They have like
Wait. I
they
believe
have
so.
like the elimination round.
No, FaZe is out. They
FaZe
lost
is out.
two
FaZe
games.
is out. Yeah. I'm
They lost
sorry.
two games.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's why I was like, wait. I know they're like in the throes of things.
Yeah, this is the first year that they've done like a complete double elimination for everything. So
And
think
that's,
that's
I
good.
think that's like where there's some confusion.
yeah.
because they haven't really done this before. And I was like, I know us three, we were kind of confused by that, like going into this week, because we were like, oh, okay, like Invitational is this weekend, like getting excited for that, and it's like, oh, they're just doing the group staging this weekend. Like that
Right.
was kind of confusing for me. So the group
Yeah.
staging was essentially just like breaking it down into double elimination brackets and then deciding who is the best of what out of that double elimination.
Well, what's also
And next
super
week.
weird is, they're doing games all next week too. So there's games
Right.
yesterday, today, tomorrow, and then there's games Tuesday, Wednesday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, off on Thursday. Like
Yes.
it's a lot,
It
which is
a
awesome.
lot of siege. A lot of
Yeah.
siege this week. Yes.
I think for me, the big thing that jumps out is North America. It's their year. I mean, I say
Oh,
this
yeah.
every time, but North
Yeah.
America is on fire.
They look really good this year.
Yep.
And you know, I'm not really one to hype that up, but I'm rooting for TSM this year, and I know TSM, like they seemingly came out strong out of the gate with a big win.
Mhm.
They had a comeback sort of win in their first matchup, but you know, they played against Space Station, and you know, I I don't really hold this as like, oh, like TSM is not good enough. I hold it as, TSM's young. They have a lot of really young players on their team. Regardless of all of the Bolo memes and everything that comes along with that, they have a lot of young players, and I think that SSG. I mean, just having Canadian on SSG, like he's a staple for the Seeds community, especially on NA. So he's an extreme staple, and having him on a team is going to do wonders for the team. And I think that them going against something like that and seeing like how well put together team, a well communicated team, like really operates. Like they played Giants. They played Rogue, essentially the old Giants team, and Rogue is really young too, but they don't have the same like team composition that I
Mhm.
feel that SSG has. And I think going against SSG, they really realize like, okay, this is the caliber that we're competing at, and I don't think that TSM is gonna be not able to compete against somebody like SSG or like Empire or G2. I think that they kind of got checked in this game. And, I look forward to seeing their next matchup to really tell the truth behind their story because,
Mhm.
like Dom was saying, I feel like there really is a story to be told behind NA this season. Like
Yeah.
I really feel like there's some NA teams that have some composition that are really bringing some story that past like EU teams have brought, and I think that's a good thing. I think that's really good for the Invitational, and I'm excited to see next week's matchup and even tomorrow's matchups. Like I'm excited to see how it progresses because so far the matchups have been phenomenal. Like they've been fucking nail biters, like down to the very end. Like even the blowouts, like quote unquote blowouts, like they've been really good. So that's kind of my take on it. Like I'm 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 obviously like rooting for TSM at this point, just because they're kind of like coming in as young underdogs for the NA, group. But I'm excited for all of NA at this point, along with what what Don was saying. But
Yeah.
what do y'all think?
I
What's
think
y'all's take?
I think really I see a lot of names on here that are really surprising. Um so we have SSG, G2, and DZ. That means we already have two NA teams qualified for quarterfinals, which
Right,
is way better than we would have seen in any event during this last year.
right,
Um,
right.
we're just like even at Raleigh, we were just begging for someone from
Mhm.
NA to make it through. And there's a lot of other really good names making it here, like NIP, MIBR, getting wins here against like NIP versus Liquid. That one was kind of a toss up because that's a LATAM game.
Right.
Giants versus MIBR is a European team that is where are they at on the? I'm curious. Where are they
They're
at right?
they're
Giants is APAC now, right?
Oh, that's right. Giants is APAC. I was
yeah,
yeah.
and they're
It's so
like
hard
in
to
the
keep
middle.
track of all the region
I know.
shuffles.
I know.
They're in the middle of the pack for APAC, but
Okay.
I mean their team composition, like they're not bad. They're relatively new on the
Okay.
scene.
They're
And
Airwolf. They used to be Airwolf.
MIBR is like a pretty mainstay group of people.
And the nice thing about MIBR is, we saw them pull out really, really well in OGA Pit. And
Mhm.
at least I was wondering, is it a fluke or is this team actually good? And I think seeing them come with a win from a different region, it shows promising signs. Like I'm going to say later on, I've got some hot takes for later on. But I do want to state before I make any of these hot takes, I do think that there are promising things about these teams that are getting wins. That
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily mean that I think that they're like a champion team, if that makes sense. I think there's
Right.
like a lot of what I think is there's champion teams and there's good teams. They don't necessarily correlate. Anyway, let me see what else. Anything that comes off to me just from these. I have like thoughts about specific games. but I want to kind of just start with generalization.
How about the new UI?
Oh my god,
it's awesome, right? Like, yeah.
Well, I would just
it's
say
like a nice
I went.
steak.
I had
It
my
is like a
first
nice steak. Yeah.
tournament event that I've ever went to for a video game event, and I watched Siege events prior to going to this. I went to DreamHack in Atlanta, like recently a few months ago, and I watched the CS:GO tournaments they had, and it was the same kind of layout. Like they had like all of their like bullet counts, they had their like kills to death ratios, their assists, they had their equipment counts and all that shit like laid out the same way that they have like on the new layout. And I was thinking to myself, like, wow, like this is like, like I don't play CS:GO, like I've played it before, like I don't watch it, competitively. So like as somebody that's watching it, like kind of coming into it new, and let me just say this. So just on the main like R6 account, over the past few days, there have been almost 60,000 people watching the Six Invitational. Like that's crazy. That's crazy.
Especially
and
a
I'm
group
just saying,
stage.
like a lot of those people probably don't like tune into normal pro league events, so they're like tuning in and being able to like have all of that shit laid out for them is great, because I thought that was great when I was watching the CS:GO events when I didn't really know what was going on. Like I knew fucking click on heads, like win the game, kind of aspect to it. But when it comes down to like, oh, there's like actual like, thought that goes into like inventory management and shit. Like that's good. That's good to be able to see that on the screen. So I'm agreeing with everybody, y'all included with this, in that the Ubisoft did a really great job in reformatting how this is presented to new players, as well as like continuous pro league watchers and even the casters. Like the casters have been, I'm sure y'all seen, the casters have been like, holy shit, like this is great. Like they don't have to fucking guess about things anymore. Like, oh, like so and so has no drones left, or so and so had a drone right here in the corner. We know that because we can see that on the UI. Like
they don't have to
that's
rely
really good.
on the observer anymore to switch to
Right,
the
right, right.
operator. If they're like, is there any C4s left? They don't have
Right.
to like rely on that anymore, which is
Right,
awesome.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
I
agree. Like that's great.
Just to put it in perspective, the amount of like just going back to something you said, there are 45,000 people watching just on the main account, and for Raleigh it was 18,000 for most of the group stages.
Yeah.
We haven't even hit the main event yet. I think everything I've seen so far from the Invitational says we have a very promising event coming up.
Well, the Invitational is always kind of like
That's true.
That's the big tamale, like the major is, I feel like if anything, the major is kind of like a showing of like a certain region, like wherever the major is plays. Like they had like a tournament in Japan, and like that was like a big deal for Japan because there's a big, huge Siege following in Japan. And then like the same as in Europe. And like I'm still waiting for like there to be a LATAM, like major or something, because it's coming, because they have a huge Siege following.
They've had
it was in Rio.
They had one in Rio.
They had a Rio
because they used the old Olympic Stadium and like
Right,
remade it.
Right. And I'm like, the Invitational is more like that's like the big tamale. Now I think that even the pro players state that as a sense like that's what you want to win. Like you want to be at the Invitational. Like it doesn't matter like how good you do during the season. Like as long as you make it to Invitational and you show out during Invitational, I think that's like the nut. Like that's what you want to get during your season. And I think that's why there is like such a big showing as far as like viewership and hype behind it, because Ubisoft knows it, the viewership knows it. Like everybody wants to show out for the Invitational. Like they want to represent their region and their team.
Well, we also saw this week that player count for Siege is at an all-time high. They just hit, there's like 55 million, 56 million or something like that for like lifetime players.
Too. That's been building. Like I think it was Get Flanked. He posted about a month ago, like I I think it was like right when they started the SI playlist. He posted and this is just PC stats, but he posted the Steam stats on concurrent like playership on Steam, and it was the highest that it's ever been in
Yep.
Siege history.
Mhm.
And you know that may be because there's a Siege event. It may not be, but again, it still speaks on the hype around Siege
Yeah.
lately. And
Mhm.
I tuning in on Twitch, and like I've got my games that I follow. I mean, I know if you're on mobile, like if you have the games that you follow, like they're at the top of your header, and usually Siege is not like doesn't have that very high numbers. Like, and seeing like almost 100K on Siege, like that brings my heart joy, like seeing that
Mhm.
people are actually interested in watching Siege, and tuning on to the main event and seeing 60,000 people watching something live, like that's pretty big, man. Pretty big.
Yeah. Yeah. Very much so. Don, what are you thinking? What do you got?
I mean, I'm just super happy about NA. I mean, even Reciprocity is still in it. I mean, I think
Dude, they look good, man. I know they're young, but they look hella good.
they do. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if all the NA teams make it through. Like, I
Yeah.
really wouldn't be.
Yeah.
I would have to see the bracket to know if that's even possible. Because I guess for all I know, tomorrow. Well, no, yeah,
Well,
it is. It
Well,
is
so
because they're not.
TSM's in like not the loser bracket, but they're in like the
I mean, it is a loser.
what is
Lower
It is
bracket is
technically.
bracket.
Yeah.
the
It's the
lower
lower.
bracket, yeah.
They call it the lower, so it's not as mean, but it's a loser bracket.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, I guess
But
they
yeah,
can
they
be out
could.
of it,
Yeah, they can still get it. Because
but I
yeah,
guess it depends on who they play against. I mean,
Mhm.
like I said, I honestly, from what I saw today and watching the games the other day on Friday, like I feel like TSM, they are young and they need a check to say like, okay, because and I heard Pingo say this. He's like, look, like TSM won Montreal DreamHack, but TSM also did not have competition at DreamHack. Like they were pretty much the best competition at DreamHack, so it's not surprising that they won that. And I'm like, okay, they came in really strong. Like they got the
Mhm.
comeback win against Rogue, who was like a big team in the EU.
At the
Like
time, yeah,
for all
they
it,
hadn't had their
yeah,
fall
for all
yet.
intents and purposes, like they were a really big team in EU. Like, and say what you
You
will
mean
about
NA?
LAN versus like
Either NA, yeah.
across online or whatever. Like I know there's like hiccups and shit with Ubisoft's servers and all that bullshit, but at the time, Rogue was like the top 3 team in EU,
Mhm.
and everybody's like EU, praise the Lord, like EU is the savior, and I'm saying they came in and they struggled a little bit. I'm not gonna argue that they struggled a little bit at the beginning, got their footing, and then dude, they by the end of it, like that last match that they had, like TSM looked pretty confident, looked really strong, and I felt good about it. But again, going into today, they played against SSG. Like there was a lot of stuff that they were going against. Like SSG is a very well put together team, and I mean, I know Mopsky has some takes on DZ, but they are very like DZ esque when it comes to like NA teams. Like as far as like when it comes to strats and like thinking things out ahead of time when it comes to maps and operators and things like that. They are very smart on stuff like that. With the addition of having a senior person such as Canadian who's been in these situations before, like TSM can't really vouch for things like that. And they're coming in kind of underdog in that point. But at the same time, like they're coming in, they're showing, at least promise. Like we've got Reciprocity out here with a pretty much like all new team, and they're playing against some of the best when it comes to big LAN events in Siege, and they look great, man. Like I know everybody's gonna talk about the fucking Foxy like whiff on not getting the hash on that what's that border on the border map when he whiffed not seeing the ash at it was like the
yeah.
round before the last round, and he like didn't see her, and he's like looking, and then she kills him. Like honestly, like that's like nuance, but they're showing like they were like really playing very well against them. And like NA has shown me something at least in this invitational. Like compared to past like big majors and invitationals, like NA really has showed up to me, and I'm excited about it. Like I can actually like feel like I can get behind NA at this point. Like I don't have to feel like, well, like NA's not in this. Like let's just like hope for whoever's the next best, kind of thing. But
so since we've been
what
touching. Since we've been touching on Space Station, do we want? I mean, we can save it for later, but do we want to talk about Canadian?
Right. And I
yeah,
feel
we
like,
definitely should talk about Canadian.
Do we want to talk about
100%.
I mean,
100%.
he's definitely a character, or not even a character. He's a caricature at this point, as far as the memes go.
But so like, it's a fun idea because like, where's the line? Personally, I love Canadian. He's a super nice guy. I got to meet him in Raleigh. Right. He was super nice. Right. But where's the line between good sportsmanship, fun shit talking, and crazy? Like where does he land here? Is this like poor sportsmanship? Is it just like fun shit talking? Is it batshit crazy?
And so like I get it, but so I recently I don't know if y'all keep up with it, but I keep up with a little bit of like the COD league or whatever, and their like tournaments and shit. Just not like so super often, serious, but
yeah.
Like FaZe recently bought a team in Atlanta, which is where I live. So I keep up with it just because they're like local and like
and they're like, also doing extremely well.
They're really fucking good. They're so good. And this is kind of my
G2
point.
Is like G2 Penta year 2 good. Like dominating.
Right. They're really fucking good. And so like the team to beat past Atlanta FaZe is Chicago's team, which has a pretty notable name in the Call of Duty community. His name's Scump. I don't know if y'all probably heard of him. He's on Twitch pretty regular. But anyway, he's notable for being very like in your face, not even just on stream, but like even in the tournaments, like he's like, fucking coming down the ring like a WWE star, just like, and talking shit during the matches, like standing up, like yelling at the other people on the other table and shit. But at the same time, like I was watching that event, and it seemed to be like that was kind of like the vibe with the whole event. Is like people were like they would stand up and like point fingers at the other team and shit, and like it was kind of fun. Like, like you understand there's like a sportsmanship with it. There's like a viewer, kind of representation with it. Like people like him, so they like want to see him get fired up about shit. So I kind of get that. And, I get what you're saying when you said that. I'm like, like I kind of thought, I'm like, like Canadian's kind of like that for Siege, like he's kind of that like person that people can get behind because they know that he's like really like a good person. But when it comes to a tournament, he's like ready to fucking win. Like he wants to fucking win. So when you see him over there, like all fired up, like, like tackling fucking Rampy and shit, like.
Well, so like, I mean, the fired up is cool. I actually don't have any issues with any of it, but like, so I have a friend who plays Siege on Xbox. He doesn't watch any of the pro stuff, but I'll send him clips, and I sent him those clips, and I've sent him the ones in the past of just like the audio we've had of Canadian where he was like, "Fuck you guys, I'm so much better." Woo! Over the years, I've been sending him these things, and his opinion is that he's the biggest douchebag in the world.
Right.
He seems like a big cock. A piece of shit. Like, so like it just plays differently, I'm guessing, depending on who. I think it's funny, honestly. I was cracking up when he was like, put the bagel in the toaster. You know, and like all that. I thought it was
Right.
fucking funny personally, and I didn't see anything wrong with it. But
No, I didn't either. And like I said, I mean, it does kind of take like a perspective to kind of understand that. You know, I agree that, you know, if I didn't really know anything about it and I saw him just be like, "Oh, you suck," you know, kind of thing, and being like, "Oh, that guy's just like a dick bag just because he like won a round or like won a match, like he's just being like an asshole," you know. But I guess if you like know the perspective behind that person, then it makes sense. But
Yeah,
I don't know.
and I think
I
a
guess
lot of the
kind of
clips we've seen from him so far are from the TSM game, where he knows a lot of the people on the team. He knows a
true.
lot of
right,
people on
right. Like
TSM.
he plays with these people on the regular, so I mean, it's not in the sense where he's like actually trying to be toxic. You know, like I'm sure. I mean, us three, we know like we play games with random people, and we're like, yo, like get shit on or you know something, and we don't like actually mean bad against other people. Like we're just like we're in the moment and we're like having a good time and we feel
Right.
good about it, you know, kind of. And you know, I kind of feel the same thing about Canadian. I actually think that he's like a good person. Like I don't
Mm-hmm.
think that he's like actually trying to fucking be toxic on Siege. You know, like we've talked about this before about like actual like competitive people that are being toxic in the game like publicly, and you know nothing's really being done about it. But I don't think that this is the case for Canadian. Like I think he's actually a good dude. Like I don't think that he's, you know, actually trying to be malice about anything at this point, you know.
Yeah,
Like he
I
he wants to win.
agree.
He wants to win.
And
Like if you actually sit down and watch the games with SSG, he wants to win. Like even when they
mm-hmm.
win a round, he's over there like he looks intense. Like he's like in between the rounds, like slamming the desk and shit. Like he's like, "All right, guys, we need to do this better." You know, like even when they win, you know, like he's just that competitive of a person. You know,
Well, and there was an interview after that match where him and Intero were talking, and he was saying that Intero asked him about those sort of shenanigans. And he was
right,
saying that a lot of it is like for team morale, because like his team finds it
right,
funny as shit when he does these
hmm
things.
Yeah,
So like,
yeah,
it is.
yeah, I mean, and you'll see in the clips like his teamites like laughing their asses off. So I
right.
think some of it is hype, and some of it like he's really intense, and some
Dude,
of it I
that
think
shit
is like
works
get
too,
everyone to
man.
laugh and like lighten the mood. You know?
It works, man.
I think so. Something to consider, even if he was a truly toxic person, right? Even if he was
Would it
okay,
be the worst toxic person in Siege?
so a
No.
great example I think is Gohan, coming out of LATAM. He is
Right.
known in the community across the teams for being incredibly toxic and not in a good way. Like just
Mhm.
incredibly degrading for the teams that he's on. He's been kicked off a lot of them. But ultimately, him being toxic in chat where it's not being recorded and things isn't against the game, you know? It's not
Yeah.
against the rules. And it's just like if somebody in the NFL took the game
Talking
really
shit.
seriously.
Right.
Yeah, and was kind of a hard ass, right? Like somebody hard to be around. Even then, it's not illegal. So
Right.
I don't know. At the end of the day, I don't. There should be. I think that you should know that you are putting on a show for everybody else, and you are going to
Right.
be a role model. But also on the other side of that coin, it's not really your fault that you're a role model because you're just doing your job, if
Right.
that makes
Right.
sense. So
Well, I mean, and I feel like Canadians kind of, and this isn't.
yeah, and I'm not talking about Canadian.
This
I think
isn't
everything he's doing is in
right.
jest. By the way, I
This
don't think
isn't
any of
speaking
it's
anything
serious.
on like Gohan, but I feel like Canadians kind of on a bigger quote unquote pedestal
Oh
than
yeah,
I
Gohan
can
is,
see that. Yeah.
100%.
and you know, like, and like you said, I think Canadian understands the the role model position that he is in, and I don't think he's taking advantage of that. Like what Don was saying, like I think that he genuinely likes firing the team up, and that is like a big thing when you're playing on such
Oh
a
yeah.
stage as this. Like it really is a big thing. Like I can't remember which matchup that I was watching, but it was one of the LATAM teams, and there was I think it was FaZe actually, and they were talking about how I can't remember if it was Mav or Cameraman on FaZe, but they were saying like how much of a big influence that they have on team morale, and then they like kind of went on a tangent about how other teams across regions like that have that dynamic where they have like one player on their team, and I think it was actually who was playing today, BDS Shiko. They were saying like how big of an influence that Shiko has on BDS as far as like just being alive during the round, like how big of an influence that he has. Like if he gets one kill, while they're playing through a round, they like kind of have like an ego boost as far as like
that's mint
like
with
oh
DZ.
shit, like Shiko got a kill, like let's go guys, like Shiko got a kill.
How many?
Like,
how much?
oh shit, Psycho got slapped, like the first person dead. Like there's like an effect that has on the team, and I kind of have to agree with what Don is saying. Is like, yeah, like I mean, these players like have an effect not only on the viewership that's watching them, but on the team that they're playing with. Like they are big influences on the team, regardless of whether you want to consider them like, oh, they're just fraggers, or they actually like quote unquote benefit the team as far as like playing roles and shit. But like they have an influence on the team, whether it is, slamming their fist on the table, getting hyped when somebody gets killed, or, dying as soon as the round starts. Like that has an influence on the game. And I don't think that what Canadian's doing is toxic. I think it is he's wanting to win, and he wants his team to do good. So he's trying to like do what he can as far as like showmanship to, get his team hype, get the people watching hype, and that's a big part of it. Like if you know that you're doing good, if you know that you're confident in what you're doing, your team's confident in what they're doing, your viewership's confident in what you're doing, like that's gonna help you, get to the round. Like you're not playing, a online match in pro league. Like you're playing on a big stage in front of the world at this point.
Yep.
So
Totally agree.
I think I don't think he's doing bad. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think that, like I said, watching the COD League and seeing like that, I kind of, because I had that glimpse of a thought that I was like, oh man, this dude's toxic. But I've also watched some of his streams and seen like how intense he is, like just like in scrims and stuff. So I understand like he wants to win. Like they're there to win. Like this is it. This is all the fucking bagels right here. Like they want to win,
Nobody told me there'd be bagels.
Right. I mean, like
put the bagel in the toaster.
Right. Canadians like put the fucking bagel in the toaster. Like shit, man. Like
isn't Bagel like TSM's coach? Is that where the bagel came from?
Bacon is their coach.
Bacon.
No, Bacon's DZ's. Oh, no, yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
I think TSM's coach is Bagel.
Oh, is it? Oh, I didn't know
that. Listen. The best Canadian clip will always be that one where they took the two Indian guys fighting. That one's my favorite.
Fuck you.
Fuck you.
Oh, fuck you.
All right, Don. Why don't you go ahead and take us into the matches? Tell me what you're impressed with, what you're not so impressed with. Let's kind of start breaking down specific matches here.
So on day one, I didn't get to watch like super in depth. I did see a little bit here and there, but I was at work, so like I don't have a whole lot to say on day one. I was
super busy yesterday too, so I didn't watch a lot of them either.
Today in depth, I got to watch TSM, Space Station. I watched Rec, Wildcard, DZ, and Empire. Those are the primary ones that I watched today. But
okay,
there were some interesting bands. So like one thing I thought was like Cafe, so TSM and Space Station. Thermite, Thatcher, Goyo, and Cade were the bands for that match. Yeah, which was interesting.
I thought it was I didn't think it was strange, but I thought it was pretty unique that I think it was 3 matchups today that it wasn't the decider match, but the second round match ended up going to Cafe. I know TSM went to Cafe.
And that was not a smart move.
No, and it wasn't. And
no, it was bad.
I said that. I was like, why is TSM going to Cafe? Like, why are they trying to play SSG on Cafe? Like, I don't know. And that's that's a whole nother point. But again, like, I thought it was pretty interesting that cafes seem to be brought up often in today's play. I don't know if that was because I always try to think of it as like, maybe when you look at it as a team perspective, like, like from the quote unquote G2 perspective, like, you don't want to give away like your strats or whatever, but not even in that, like,
they weren't hiding strats, they were hiding Sir Boss.
Right.
So
like,
they
you don't
say.
want to, right? You don't want to give away like you don't want to play like your best map, like the map that you feel most comfortable with. You don't want to do that. Like, you want to try to save that to the very, very end of it, like the quote unquote the final match or whatever. And I thought it was interesting that several teams brought the cafe match out today because, and we mentioned this today, Mopsy, is that I feel like cafe is pretty balanced as far at this point, like the new cafe. Like, I feel like it's pretty balanced.
we were saying that it comes down to gunfights a lot of times.
Yeah,
and
like,
I think
as far
something
as attacking and defending, I feel like it's pretty balanced.
Mm-hmm.
And it just comes down to individual gunfights and strats. And
I wonder if there's
like
a strategy to that to an extent.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I think teams that know that they can win gunfights are gonna go to cafe. Like, if they it was Space Station's pick, right?
It was the decider.
TSM.
It was the
TSM and Space Station. That was the decider match. And then
yes,
okay.
No one picked it. Yeah.
G2, I can't remember who picked first, but the second map was cafe for the G2 match. G2 BDS. I don't know if BDS picked it or G2, but that was the second match for them. And then there's one other match today that I saw that they picked cafe. I don't remember. I was like glancing at it. I stopped watching after the G2 game. But either way, like I said, I thought it was interesting that map was kind of brought up because we saw in the first like play day that it was Coastline was brought up a couple of times, and that was again like not a attacker defender favored map. It was a strictly like straight gunfight map. Like, it's pretty common that that's just a gunfight map, and that map was picked pretty regularly. And I wonder if, and this is kind of the layman brain coming at it. Like, I'm trying to understand like what these pro league teams are picking these maps for. Like, are they picking them because they think like, all right, let's just like stick straight to like gunfights and leave it up to that, and then like leave our actual like stratted maps. Let's leave those for the end. Like, let's save them for when we really want to pick those to like try to get a win and stuff. That's the stuff that I think about because, I mean, you always think about like Empire. The Clubhouse is like their map. In past like year or so, like that's their map. And you have to think like, are there teams out there where they're like specifically stratting a map just to save that for a specific time, or maybe they're just picking the map because they feel comfortable with it. I don't know, but I thought that was interesting. I thought it was pretty interesting that Coastline and Cafe were brought up on the first play day, and then this play day. I don't know. I don't know what to think of it. I mean, that's kind of the bottom line of it, but I thought it was interesting that those two maps were kind of brought in as far as like neutral on attack and defense.
There was lots of last second clutches too.
Yeah.
A lot of these rounds literally went to like the final seconds.
Yeah.
I mean, that was one thing that I noticed throughout today, at least.
Yeah.
There was many times it was literally seconds left on the clock before it was over.
And that's kind of why I bring it up, is because any other map, like Bank, whatever, like Border, any of those maps that they played, like they were either blowouts or not really that close. But Coastline and Cafe, like both of those maps were not close for any of the matchups that were played on them. Like they were not close at all. Like they were straight, like like slugfest to the very end. And that's why I'm like, I'm not confused about it, but I'm just like, I have to sit here and wonder why. Like why do they pick those? Because to me, like if I'm gonna pick a map where I'm like, yo, like there's no real like favor to one side or the other. Like we're gonna have to really come down to technical skill on this. Like to me, that's like I don't know. Like if I feel like you're on border or like a map where it's like defender favored or attacker favored, like at least even if you don't get attack or defense first, like if you do, then you have the 50% chance of like having a better edge over the competition. Where it is you go on Coastline, like there's no edge, like other than what you're bringing to the table. Like there's no edge at all. Like you literally have to bring to the table those gunfights. Like you have to win your gunfights. Like you have to win your one-on-ones with the other team. And I don't know, to me, like coming hot out the gate doing that, like I don't know, like maybe they felt confident against the teams they were playing against or whatever, but I'm just saying, like I was surprised by those map picks, to be honest. Like one, like I guess the cider match is one thing with what was it, TSM and SSG. Like that's one thing. But
yeah, that was Cafe.
With a G2 BDS pick, like one of them picked that map as their like map that they like quote unquote felt comfortable with. I don't know.
I can probably tell you here in a second. Let's see. This app is awesome, by the way.
I know that app is great.
know,
Strafe is awesome for anybody listening. Download Strafe. It will save you a lot of time. With
yeah,
stuff
someone did pick Cafe for G2 because that was the second game.
That was the G2 map.
They played Villa and then G2. I don't know which team.
And even Villa.
Wait,
dude,
I can tell you.
Villa's
no. Wait. G2 picked Villa, so it was Cafe was picked by BDS.
That's a surprise.
Dude, honestly, I'm not surprised BDS picked it because G2 did not play well on Villa all season. And that's kind of like that's okay. Like that's okay if like you're a team and you like kind of read into
I think when
the
G2
fact that like
makes like jokes about saving strats, they're only talking about Villa. That's my guess. Like
really?
they're not talking about because they always look at G2's like,
dude, I'll be honest, Villa came down to the last fucking second, dude.
Well,
like
Villa
BDS
always
played that pretty well.
With G2, they do terribly on Villa on Pro League, but when they get to like events and stuff, it's like their go-to.
Fabian brought out Clash like literally the entire match, man.
Fabian, stop, you cringy dude.
Bro, he literally played Ella for 2 rounds and then brought out Clash for the rest of the defense. So I don't know. Look, you're a G2 fan. I'm not gonna shit on your fandom, but I'm just saying, like watching the match, like BDS, they played the hell out of that map, dude. They played the hell out of that, and they played very well against G2. They did not play well on the Cafe map. I will flat out say that they did not play well on the Cafe map.
Speaking of Cafe, there is something we need to bring up. Uno, we're talking to you directly. What are you doing?
Bro, don't hate on my buzz. Don't hate on my buzz, man.
No, it wasn't.
Well, not
Fuse.
only that, Tachanka.
It's not Fuse. He used Tachanka effectively.
Well, he did use Fuse also, but not effectively.
And Fuse actually was a pretty it was okay. It wasn't great because like a lot of times the fuses were getting knocked off.
It caused mayhem, if anything. Like it caused them to like have to, shuffle about and not because BDS. And you saw it throughout their like operator picks and everything. Like they were trying to play the map, like quote unquote. How are you supposed to play the map? Like, and G2 like, and like, look, I'm not a G2 hater. I'm not a G2 hater by any means. I just give you grief because I know you're a fan. But what I'm saying is like, if anything, I feel like G2 approached that map like it was strange, like the way they approached it, but I felt like that was kind of the way that they had to do it. Like BDS, like that was their map pick, so obviously they had some comfortability with playing on that map. So how do you break that comfortability? Play it with fucking operators that you don't normally play on that map.
I would argue that G2 actually has a history of playing Strange on Cafe. That's where everyone learned that you could use Gridlock. It was Uno playing Gridlock on Cafe.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I think that there's a history there of G2 playing that
But
extremely well. And I think BDS
their
did not
their
read into
operator
that
picks
well.
across the board on Cafe, like not just Uno. Like I was happy because Uno was playing Fuse, but I was also looking at their other picks. Like, dude, they were picking some fucking random operators.
Mm-hmm.
They were picking some fucking random operators that whole map, dude. And I think that in itself, like with a combination of G2 being they're like pro league players, man. Like they have been around for a fucking while. Like they're not new to this, you know. So they're kind of afforded the fact that they can. I mean, y'all can sympathize with this. Like a new player coming into Siege, like you don't want to tell a new player coming into Siege, "Hey, hop on Fuse, like you'll do great." Like, no, you don't want to fucking tell somebody that. Like, yeah, like if you understand the concepts of the game, like you play like the maps, you understand the dynamics of everything. Like, yeah, like you can do good with an operator, but it's only after understanding all that other shit. I think that what we saw today with G2 is not a meme. Like I want to call it a meme. Like I want to call it a meme map that they just like brought out the meme operators. But I think that they just surprised BDS by bringing operators. And this was apparent even on Villa, like with Fabian bringing Clash. Like even the announcers, they were like, "Yo, like Fabian is bringing Clash," and I even thought the same thing. I was like, "That's kind of weird. Like, why do he bring that?" Me thinking like, "Oh, Fabian's like he's being like, upset that he's like not doing good, so he's just gonna bring a shield op, because that's like the mentality. It's like, oh, I'm not doing good. I'm just gonna be a drone, essentially."
Actually, Fabian plays Clash all the time.
I was
Right,
gonna say,
right.
yeah,
That's not a weird pick for Fabian. He plays them all
But
the time.
I mean, in the sense of like the dynamic of like the team.
Well, I think
or
that's
whatever.
why
I
he plays.
that he's,
I think that's
good.
why he plays Clash is because the likelihood of them saving utility to take a Clash down is extremely low,
And he
unless
wasted,
they know
he
it's
wasted
coming.
a lot of it. Like the
Yeah.
Capital had nothing left, pretty much trying to deal with him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that once I saw that happening, and then going into the cafe map and seeing all these like random operators that they're picking, I'm like, okay, like they understand that BDS, like they're good, like they understand the fundamentals, but can they handle seasoned players understanding how to like basically like pocket strat operators no matter what the operator is. Like they can pick an operator and pocket strat the shit out of them. And I think that was the edge that they had going into this matchup. And it essentially paid off for them. It paid off for them. And I think that other teams should look at that like it most importantly Empire. I think Empire should look at that and say, "Hey, like we're really good at this one thing, but maybe we should consider like things can work better if we learn how to pocket strat all of the operators. Like there's fucking 70 operators in the game. Like let's figure out how to use all of them in a case where, somebody thinks that they have the upper hand just by, playing the game quote unquote how you're supposed to. But what if you play the game not quote unquote how you're supposed to? What do they do then? You know? And I think the Empire kind of struggled with that in their first day. Like they really did struggle against Fnatic because Fnatic like came against them really fucking strong on Coastline. Like I don't know if y'all caught that match, but dude, Fnatic, dude, I would not write them out. I'm super happy that they made it through today because, dude, that showing that they had, like, if you look at the scoreline, the 2-0 of Empire versus Fnatic, it doesn't spell the story, but Dude, that first match that they had against Empire, it was a hell of a match, dude. Like, it could have been either one of them on Coastline. And that's my point. Like, Empire, they were just trying to play what they do. Like, everybody's playing the same strat that they've always done. And, Fnatic, like, it's not new to anybody. Like, we've watched Empire play for, however many years. We understand what they're going to do. Like, you just have to beat that. And Fnatic was playing very well into that. Like, they struggled later on in the match, but I don't know. I think that, like I said, Empire, G2, these big teams that have been around for a while that kind of have the same team composition, I think they could take a lesson of these new teams coming in and trying to figure out new stuff out, man. I think it's a note worth taking.
So is G2 back to their form? Like, are they back?
I don't think so.
Yet to be seen.
I don't think so.
Yet to be seen. Okay.
Yet to be seen.
I don't think they are.
I will say, okay, so this goes along with what I was saying earlier is teams need to prove that they can make it on the stage and actually make it past games on the stage. Like, I still haven't said the thing because it's going to spark a conversation that we need to have later after we talk about the match. But I think it's important to note that, yes, G2 is doing well now. What is G2 going to look like in the quarterfinals? What is G2 going to look like in the semifinals? Are they going to make it to the main stage? Like, that is what's really important, because ultimately at the end of the day, and I looked at the money, like, if G2 was to make it to the quarterfinals right now, but actually this information's on Liquipedia, if G2 was to make it to the quarterfinals right now, which puts them in 7th to 8th, that's $110,000 on the board for 2 teams, and that's only $55,000. Spread out between their entire staff that's going, that's not a lot per player. That's like maybe a month's worth of pay for them. So it's to understand this really doesn't mean a lot. And there's no trophy at 7th or 8th. There's a little bit of money. It'll pay for your trip.
That's all the more incentive to G2 and their organization for them to like want to win, because at the end of this day, like, they're in a business. Like, they're involved in a business here, and they love the game and whatnot, but they're on an organization that expects them to, quote unquote, show up. Like, they have to promise what they paid for, and G2 bought this team from Penta with that expectation, and they received that after they bought them. But at this point, it's like, well, where does my investment end? And G2 has to look at that, and I'm sure they're under that kind of pressure. And I'm not trying to put more pressure on them, and I sympathize with the fact that they have to deal with that. But at the end of the day, they are a top-notch team. Like, they are the Yankees of the fucking Siege world. Like, they're the ones to beat. Like, they're the ones to win. Like, I mean, you want to see them show up when the time comes. So my thought is, yet I haven't seen them show that like true spark like I've seen in past games. And honestly, it's not to G2's fault. I honestly think it is just to, like, there's a lot more competition, man. There's a lot more competition this year. I mean, if anything, I think NA's shown that. Dude, like, even APAC showing up, like, playing a phenomenal game against Empire, who's considered, the best in the world at this point. There's teams out there that have composition that can show up and show out, and that's where I'm like, look, if G2's the team, like, y'all better prove it. Like, I better see y'all definitively take a matchup against the team. And at this point, I haven't seen that. Like, I'm not a G2 like hater. Like, I just
hater.
Perspectively, like, if they're the team to beat, like, I want them to show up. Like, I want them to like handedly beat the team, and I understand at this caliber, like,
and not
it
get
gets tough.
7-0'd.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, it gets tough. Like there's gonna be teams that like give you the run for the money, but at this point, like you're bringing Fuse out, you're bringing Knockout, you're bringing Clash out. Like I don't know, like those operators, like yeah, like I use those operators, but I'm also not on a pro league team.
Yeah.
Like I want to see you show up and handedly, not even handedly. I just want you to show up and be confident in your win. That's it. Like not even handedly, just be confident in your win. And like that's why I've been so behind TSM because like they're not the best team. Like I'm not gonna sit here and say they're the best team in the world, but they are very confident in the games that they play. Like they are extremely confident in their team composition. They communicate well, and I like seeing that. Like I really like seeing that in a team. And I think that that's going to be what wins the SI. I think that's going to be the determining factor in this year's SI is the team that wants to win and has the best team composition. Like they're going to be the ones that wins. Hands down.
So I have a formatting question. So the teams that went 2-0 the past 2 days, are they not on the main stage? Like I kind of thought they were. Maybe I'm confused because the formatting is different this year than it was last year.
So from what I understood is that the teams that are quote unquote winners bracket, I thought, and I kind of have to go back and look at this. I thought it was going to be a seeding thing where like the top seed goes against the bottom seed kind of thing, and then it just gets divvied out in between that. But
as far as I understand, it goes if you win both of your matches, then you automatically go. If you win one and lose one, then you'll play against the other person who won one and lost one.
Right.
And that would be the second seed.
Okay.
That's what I understand about it. So it basically would be if you win both of your matches, you only play 2 games. If you don't win, you end up playing 3 games.
So the teams that are in on the main stage then would be so far Space Station, G2, DZ.
Yes, that's all I know of. Yeah. And then there'll probably be one more after today's game. After the games they're playing right now.
Oh yeah.
There'll be one more. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I understand anyway. So, Don, I think we've kind of beat around the bush as far as this, but I would kind of want you to lead us into this. Talk about the DZ Empire game. I think that's a really, really important game that we need to discuss.
Yeah, I mean, it was phenomenal. It felt so good to watch. Like, I'm not even joking. I was like screaming my head off. And it's not that I'm like a diehard Dark Zero fan. Like, I mean, and I've gotten a bunch of people on Twitter now like, oh, you left EG really fast. It's like, well, Evil Geniuses aren't even playing in here. So I have to pick someone to back. So I chose to back Dark Zero because they have former EG players. They have Gift Flanked. I love Gift Flanked. So I was like, okay, yeah. And I'm not saying that I think Dark Zero will win it all, but beating a team like Empire, the best that there is right now, I think is a feat. And it wasn't
big deal.
And it wasn't that Empire played like shit either. Like, I mean, it's not like they were playing horribly and Dark Zero just capitalized on it. It was back and forth the entire time. Again, lots of last second clutches. Like there was one round on the second map. It was on Consulate where literally a second was the decider. They were defending upstairs. Literally, Empire killed all of Dark Zero by jumping out a window and had to run back up. And it was literally like a fraction of a second.
Oh, yeah. I did see that one. Yeah, that was good.
Like, maybe it was Dan, I think, on
it was
Empire.
Dan. It was Dan who jumped out as Mozzie and took him out, but it wasn't able to run back in time. I think that's a great point. Man, Empire, like once you start beating them, this happened with EG as well. Where once you start beating Empire, they really start running like a scared dog. It's weird if you start getting rounds. They have this
composition, and this is what I was alluding to. They have, the announcers talk about this. They literally strat the shit out of a map. until the point like their players are like their fingers are bleeding until they like understand every angle to like strat out a map. But my thing is like Siege is not that kind of game. Siege is not the kind of game where like you can literally like fucking run your fingers to the bone, understanding how to like cover a an objective on a map, and then you'll win. Like Siege is not that kind of game. Like it's a lot of Siege comes up to RNG. Like it's chance. Like you have to take the opportunities that are given to you, and I think that that's like where Empire falls short is they don't account for those luck chances that may be presented, like little breaks in their defense or little breaks in their offense that may end up breaking them down. And this is what I was alluding to in the Fnatic match. Like what you were saying, like Fnatic, they were not playing against Empire like Empire slacking off. Like Empire was not slacking off. Like it was back and forth the entire match, and it could have been anybody's game. And in the end, it ended up going out to Empire. But dude, Fnatic, like they were not giving that shit up. Like they were there to fucking play, and I think that it shows that Empire their weakness is their comfortability in like their quote unquote knowledge of their strategies on stuff. And that's great. But dude, at the end of the day, like you have to be able to stand up and win a gunfight or like, like clutch a play or something. Like at the end of the day, like that's what it's gonna take. And like that first matchup with Fnatic, dude, fucking Joystick had like 2 kills. And I'm like, you're their player. Like, you're their clutch. Like, you're their, like, wild when it comes to winning matches. Like, you have to show up in those instances. And ultimately, he did in the next round. Like, I think he ended up having, like, 6 kills or something in the next match. But the thing is, like, they can't just rely on these, like, quote-unquote strategies that they practice so hard. Like, they have to step up to the plate when there's other talent in the community that are really good. Like they can't go against DZ. Like DZ is quoted as being one of the most stratted teams in the world. Like you can't go against a stratted team and be like, "Oh, our strats are better." Like I'm pretty sure their fucking strats are just as good as yours. Like they practice this shit just as hard as you do. And it's gonna come down to, are you better in a one-on-one with them? Are you better when it comes to those opportunities that present themselves? Like I don't know. I think Empire's great. Like I love watching them play, but I don't know. This past season, like I've been kind of at the point where like I'm kind of tired of Empire. Like I'm tired of like the fact that everybody's like hell bent on them.
So my honest opinion on Empire, and I've been debating whether I want to say anything about this or not, but what I will say is this, and I'm not accusing Empire. I'm not making that clear, but Russia has okay, so we know Russia, right? We know how Russia handles sports. We know the endemic problem within Russia and sports. We know the Russian government has their hand in all athletic teams, and we know what Russia loves to do with sporting events and their teams. I would love to see mandatory testing. I'm serious, man. Like, these people
they got like a Red Bull and a syringe or something.
No, man, Adderall, Ritalin, Concerta. Right. Like, there's plenty of performance-enhancing drugs that we need to just test everyone. And I'm sure it's not just, I bet lots of esports teams do this. I'm not trying to say it's just them, but some of their mechanical skills are just on a new level. And that's where Empire, I don't think they're all like no-brain Ash main. Right. I think really their mechanical skills are next to nothing.
That's what I've been alluding at, and I didn't want to say that, but
I did.
Me and my dad,
and it comes down to the point where, like I was saying, you can literally practice something over and over and over till your fucking fingers fall off. But at the end of the day, like Siege is not that game. Like it's not CS:GO. It's not it's not like any other game. Like shit comes up to chance. Like you have to take opportunities, like on the moment that it's presented to you. Like and like that's what I'm saying. Like Empire can practice shit all they want. G2 can practice shit all they want. But at the end of the day, are you gonna be able to handle it when fucking Shaiko comes flying through a fucking window at you? Like, are you gonna be able to handle that? Like, that's my point.
And I think we saw by DZ that they were able to handle it.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Me and my dad were joking that the DZ versus Empire game was basically just Rocky 4.
No, literally when the game was over, like my wife knew who won because I was like, "Take that, you commie bastards, USA!" Like I was literally just like so hyped. I was like, "Yeah."
That's like when it was when the prophecy for G2 going to Japan was still real, and Fabian clutched the last round against Na'Vi, and I screamed so loud the neighbors stared at me. Like it's hard not to get hyped sometimes for games. Yeah. But also Siege has such high highs and low lows when it comes to that, where it's like some games are so mind-blowingly boring to watch, and some games are just like, oh my god, I'm so into this. But we do need to. Don has said his hot take.
Yeah.
And what's your hot take?
Okay.
Bring it on.
Hot take.
Bring it on.
My hot take, and this is gonna trigger everyone. I am going to be the most. It's not popular. It's not a popular opinion, but I have to say, DZ. And okay. So before I say this, I use certain words purely to get people to hype against me. It's not that I really think that DZ sucks, although I say that. I am just disappointed in DZ because I have yet to see them actually win a trophy. That's my thing. And I think that's a fair point. And there are a lot of teams that I hold to that high standard that have not won a trophy. The only reason why I like Na'Vi is because they've won. The only reason why I like G2 is because they've won. I have to respect Empire. Notice I said I didn't like them.
Won.
I have to respect Empire because they won. Like I have to get, like, I can really only get, even to some extent, Don DG, I give them respect because they have a trophy that's sitting at their player house. It's like, at the end of the day, I can't really say the same about DZ. I can't say the same.
I'm just the
and
underdog,
you know what?
Man.
You know what?
I'm
gonna say something super controversial. Until USN, SSG was in the same boat.
Yeah.
They did not have a trophy. And there are tons of teams that don't have trophies that people say are fantastic teams, and until they can show me that they can get on a stage and raise a trophy with confetti dropping from the ceiling and some weird EDM music playing, I don't care. That's my thing. That's my hot take. I'm saying that there are teams that people say are good, and until they can show me that good can take them to the end, I'm sorry, you suck. You suck.
I'm with Killam. I love a good underdog story. I grew up being a Chicago's Cub fan.
Oh,
so
Jesus.
like, and this is yeah. So I'm very much like used to the like they'll get it next time, like.
Well, like I grew up in Georgia, so literally we have like every team is like, oh, they're great this year, and then they get to the very end, and they just like choke like unbelievably, and. I have to deal with this the same as like what Don. I'm like rooting for the underdog at this point. Like I'm like, dude, Fnatic, like go get this shit. Like I'm not even live in your country, but go get this shit. Like you beat Empire, like almost beat Empire one round. Like like go get it. And but also I can agree with what you're saying. Like respect is due for the teams that have shown up and shown out and actually won an event. And I don't disagree with you. Like I think that respect is earned. Like I think it really is earned. But I'm for the underdogs, man. Like the underdogs got to be the way. Like they got to win, man.
And I also I want to stack on top of that. Beating Empire is no small feat, and that is impressive.
No, it really isn't.
That is huge. I did not.
Look,
I
2
honestly,
rounds.
I'm gonna tell you this right now. I thought that Empire's gonna be so boring to watch because they are gonna show up to every game and they might get one map down.
They're gonna be
robots. Pull out of every
Yeah.
single one, and I'm so glad that they lost one.
Yeah.
I'm happy that they did. And I'm not necessarily saying that because I absolutely hate the team and I want them to lose in every scenario. It's just that I'm so glad that somebody was actually made an Empire game interesting. Like, Empire's one of those teams
honestly,
where
it makes the whole rest of the tournament that more interesting to watch.
Yeah.
Because
Yep.
I mean, in
the
previous
storylines that
tournaments where
get carried
Empire's
into the
competing-
quarters are going to be great.
Yeah. In previous tournaments where Empire's competing, it's like, if you're in fucking Empire's bracket, you might as well just like get your shit
Right.
packed because you ain't gonna fucking make it. But with this now, like Empire's not out of it, but in a sense where it's like it's any man's game, and I feel like that storyline is so much better of a storyline when it comes to like a big event like the Invitational.
Yeah.
I just want to see North America win one finally.
Yeah.
It's been way too long.
North
Please.
America's got a chance. They really do.
Yeah, they do.
Navi's looking their worst. Empire's not looking. They're looking good, of course, but not great.
Yeah, they don't look bad.
This is their shot. And I think that they've got a really good shot. I don't want to see them choke on those quarter stages, because you get out there and you see all those people in the crowd that are there to see you.
Yeah.
All right,
It's daunting.
all right. Here's another hot take. If Navi wins by some miracle, does Doki come back?
I mean,
Like,
he's
do they
technically
bring
on the
Doki
docket to
back?
come back.
I know. I'm like, but did they bring him back actually? Because
If
It's
are
like-
you
it's like,
saying
well,
if
we
they
won-
won, do they bring him back? I actually
Right.
don't think so. And Doki has said
Right.
multiple times where he's like, if they don't want me back because Pi is doing great, that makes sense to me, and I'm fine with
Right.
it.
dude, I'll be honest. Like, Pie's not that bad.
Pi's
Like,
good.
I'm not, dude. I like Doki. Like, off. Like pro league scene. Like, I think he's actually like a fun content
Mhm.
creator in person. Like, on the pro league scene, he's decent. Like, he's pretty good. Like, he can hold his own. But I mean, Pie's kind of proven himself at this point. Like, he's not just
I agree.
filler at this point, man.
I think a
like,
lot of people are sleeping.
They
on
already
how
won.
good
They already
Pi
won a
is.
tournament with him.
I think
You know,
there's a lot of people. Who's the guy? Who's the new guy on EG? What's his username? I'm trying to think of the name.
The new guy on what?
EG.
Oh, it's Spades.
Bodega? Oh,
No. The brand new guy to Pro League. Move something.
Bodega.
Modanga, that's it.
Yeah.
Like him and Pi, I think people sleep on a lot, but really, like, they are showing that, there is new talent and that it is very, very
Dude,
potent.
I think that's like across the board for all these pro. That was
Yeah.
like what I was saying earlier. These teams like Empire and G2, like they have to fucking watch out, man. Like they can't just come in
No more
and think
sleeping.
yeah, like they can't just say like, all right, just bring the same old shit that we've been bringing. Like you gotta mix it up. Like bring a fucking clash. Like if you got to, I don't care what you gotta do. Bring something different. That like you can bring as like a senior in this scene, like that you can like bring and strat with, versus like somebody new coming into the scene. Like, dude, these fucking kids, like they're coming in, like Siege is at its most competitive as it's ever been, and I think that's it's shown in even like ranked, on in casual play, like not even in pro league, like even in ranked, it's becoming more and more competitive. Like just playing ranked with like random fucking people. Like people are playing Siege more often. People are getting fucking better at the game, and they're taking note for all of these things that the pro league people are doing. So like, I don't think that you can just sit back and like hope that like, oh well, the shit that's been working is gonna keep working. Like it's not. That's not the way. That's not how it's gonna keep going. As far as Siege goes, like it's not CS:GO. Like CS:GO is like technical skill, and whenever your technical skill goes, that's when you go. I think Siege is, technical skill is a must, but it's gonna come down to, can you finesse the other team? And that's simply it. Like,
Well, I mean,
think that's the
Fabian's
biggest
always
thing with-
said that mechanical skill is not what's even needed. Like, I think
Right.
Fabian's the first to always say, like, I'm a shit aim, but I'm the best player in the world. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, he's saying that in the sense that he's like intelligent, like he can think intelligently, and
which is what you need more so than
Right. And when you're playing against players and these new players that are coming up, like they're younger than me and Don. I think at this point, like they're fucking new people coming into the scene. They got fucking cracked out. They played the game.
I'm younger than you and Don. You boomers.
Yeah, we're boomers at this point. But what I'm saying is, like, they're coming in here with cracked out aim, just like naturally, like that's just how they play the game. So, like, you're gonna have to beat them with smartness. Like, you're gonna have to beat them by outthinking them, and that's how I have to play Siege now. Because I will be the first to admit, like, I'm not a good aimer. Like I'm just converting to PC over the past few months, so I'm definitely not a good aimer. But I already have to tell myself, like, hey, like, I'm knowledgeable about Siege, though. Like, I've been playing Siege for over 2 years now. Like, I know more than anybody, any fucking 15-year-old that hop on the game and, like, out-aim me. I know more about the game than they do. So how do I outsmart them? And I think that, these older teams, like, that's what they're going to have to figure out. I'm not saying that they're boomers. I'm not saying that they, like, can't aim or any of that. I'm just saying when it comes to these newer players coming into the scene, like, that's what they're bringing. Like, you look at fucking Bolo, like, what was fucking Bolo known for before he even showed up in the Pro League? Like, you watch a Bolo video, you knew it was a Bolo video because he's literally looks like he's aiming. Like, he's just, like, fucking flicking everybody on the map. It's crazy. And when you're going against somebody like that, and granted, like, Pro League's a lot different than just playing casual Siege, I'm just saying, like, you have to bring that next level brain power when you're playing against these people. Like Empire, G2, whoever else that's bringing a, veteran roster into the Pro League scene. These are the things that they need to be thinking about, throughout the SI event and the rest of the season. Like, these are the things that they need to understand and take into account.
Absolutely. Okay. Do you guys want to do predictions? I think we're actually not necessarily deep enough into the groups to be able to do accurate predictions.
Yeah, it's kind of tough.
It's going to be tough to do them. I think we will save the predictions. We're not going to do a podcast next week. But I'm sure we'll post them on Twitter once the groups are done.
Well, I mean, we'll be able to talk about, at least next week or the week after, we'll be able to talk about, like, whatever gets announced at the Invitational.
I think
season 5 goes.
I think as far as this goes, it is fair to say that this is NA's event to win. That's what I'm gonna end here with.
It's the most promising for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What hot takes or anything else you guys want to say, kind of in closing here?
I
think I said my piece.
hashtag Bolo Land. Let's get it.
When's Bolo playing again? Anybody know when Bolo's playing?
Sometime tomorrow.
Yeah. Tomorrow. It looks like, I think I saw TSM's the first game against Navi. So, All right, everyone. Just a couple announcements at the end of the podcast here, just to let you guys know, we are doing a what is the word I'm looking for? A watch party. We're doing a watch party for the event here. We're going to be doing it on the 16th for the Year 5 reveal, and then we're going to be doing the watch party for the grand final. So I will be having people here over at my house. Aaron, who's in the Discord, will be here, a couple of my other friends. And also, we will be hosting it over Discord. So if you are interested, please let us know. Join the Discord, things like that. I'm going to be, kind of like streaming what's going on here. I'll be streaming the game as much as I can get on screen. And then I'll have everybody in chat so we can kind of just discuss and talk to everybody while the game's going on. So that is what's going on. If you are interested, shoot me a message, join the Discord, anything like that. And if you guys have any questions about the podcast, please let us know. Like I said, we have a spot in the Discord for it. Let us know on any of our streams, any other day that we're online. Just let us know, and we'll try to get him in on the podcast. But other than that, I think we are wrapped up for today, unless you guys have anything else.
I'm done.
Okay.
I do not.
Alrighty, well, we will see you all in 2 weeks, and we'll be discussing year 5 reveals and everything. Other than that, we'll see y'all later. Bye.
Bye.
Peace.